The release of Suksong caused many indie developers to push their games, which is why we have a supersized week of new releases, including action-adventure games, turn-based tactics, very weird first-person titles, narrative sims, life sims, and everything in between. So let's begin with Town to City, one of the most beautiful looking games that I've ever come across, and is a cozy city building title where you guide a 19th century Mediterranean settlement. You are unconstrained by a grid, so you can build organic looking neighborhoods, retaining the core city building gameplay loop of having to produce resources and advance up the production chain to satisfy the needs of your people. It comes to us from the developer of Station to Station and appears to be an expanded version of that goes into city building, where I want to shout out the lighting in particular. A very different kind of game is Eclipsium, a first-person horror adventure where you play as the Wanderer, compelled to pursue a mysterious figure known only as Her through a series of collapsing worlds that shift from grotesque tombs, cathedrals of flesh, and distorted stretches of space. It appears to be exploration and puzzle focused as you explore these strange spaces, solving equally weird puzzles and advancing forward, with body horror being a central theme, definitely leaving an impression visually. This video is brought to you by Aegis Force The Scorian War, a grid-based, turn-based tactical RPG that mixes 2D sprites with 3D environments, giving it an interesting look. Set in a pixel art fantasy world of warring countries. One country is powered by magic and the other by technology, and have been at war for 100 years with no end in sight, telling the tale of three childhood friends turned soldiers as they get swept up in the conflict. Battles are turn-based where positioning matters, so you have to consider backstab, terrain, and skill synergies between characters. Our three heroes fall into character archetypes of warrior, mage, and archer, but there are over 15 recruitable characters that extends to thieves, engineers, and more, allowing you to combo attacks and abilities to take out your enemies. Outside of battle, you are free to explore the world in a manner similar to classic JRPGs, exploring towns, talking to NPCs, uncovering secrets, taking on side missions to find ancient weapons or to battle monsters. It takes inspiration from games like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics, and Shining Force, allowing you to build bonds between characters, which matters not just for the story but also for combat, since characters who are close can unlock and use devastating combo attacks together. The war-torn world setting is classic and does have moral dilemmas and choices to make, so if curious, you can play their free demo available now on Steam, wishlist the game, and look forward to the release in 2026. Another amazing looking game is Wonder Stars, a turn-based RPG where you journey across the cosmos with Ringo and Wolf, an unlikely duo, one searching for her missing brother and the other for answers to their mysterious past, as they seek out pieces of the Wonder Star map. The battle system is the focus, since instead of fixed abilities, you assemble attacks by combining words, slotting together base actions like kick or block, with modifiers such as super or fast, and elemental effects like fire or water to create unique phrases, with each component determining the strength, speed, and properties of your moves, with cooldowns and enemy weaknesses adding more tactical depth. Outside of combat, you progress through 10 episodic chapters filled with rival duels, special events, and hidden secrets, with choices to make and honorable victories rewarding new words and pep-ups that expand your vocabulary and unlock passive bonuses. This, of course, looks very Dragon Ball inspired, with amazingly well done art and animation, with the structure resembling that of an anime series, looking so good and will be of interest even if word games are not usually your thing. One of the biggest releases of the week is No, I'm Not a Human, a first-person horror simulation about paranoia where you're trapped inside your house and must decide who to trust when strangers knock at your door seeking refuge. The core gameplay loop hinges on deciding whether or not to let visitors inside or to turn them away, using subtle visual cues on their appearance, such as flawless teeth, dirty fingernails, bloodshot eyes, and others, to deduce if they are real humans or part of the so-called visitors with a capital V, who will probably kill everyone within the home. you do have to manage resources to survive as well, needing to eat and drink, looking to be following in the footsteps of Papers, Please, but cranking up the horror dial and looks very creepy. Love indie games? Sign up to my newsletter to get a weekly dose of what's hot, along with some news and of course, weekly game giveaways, so if interested, link is in the description below. After a little bit of a delay, we also have the release of Ratatan, a rhythm-based roguelite strategy title where you command musical creatures known as kobolds in side-scrolling battles, rallying them to march, attack or defend in sync with the beat, and is from the team that made Patapon, but now gone indie. Enemies arrive in swarms across procedurally generated stages, escalating into large-scale clashes with hundreds of units that requires coordinated actions to defeat. It is a roguelite, so there are upgrade systems for your own units to grow stronger, some of which do persist across runs. Between expeditions, you return to Rataport, a hub area where you expand facilities, unlock new weapons and skills, and recruit fresh kobold types that adds variety to your army, expanding the strategic options moving forward. I think that this looks amazing visually, being vibrant and cartoony, but do worry about the readability of the game with so much going on, with the developers taking feedback from their Steam Next Festival demo and is working on fixing them, more to do with the tutorial as well as the balance of the game, so I hope they have gotten it into a good state, although it will still technically be an early access release. Other games begin with Arctic Awakening, a first-person narrative adventure game that begins with your plane crashing deep in the Arctic wilderness, forcing you to trek across frozen tundra, jagged peaks, and abandoned facilities while accompanied only by a floating therapy drone. Exploration is at the core of this game, with you trudging through blizzards, climbing over snowdrifts, and navigating treacherous ice fields, with dialogue choices and interactions with your drone companion literally adding character to the game. You have to discover scattered clues and messages about the larger mystery surrounding the crash, of how your plane was cut in two, and the fate of your missing co-pilot. It's not quite a survival game, so while it looks similar to The Long Dark, I don't believe the mechanical systems are as developed, but rather think Firewatch or Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and you should have a better idea. A Gentleman's Dispute is a PvP party brawler that throws polite manners out the window in favour of chaotic, refined mayhem among up to 8 scoundrels fighting in arenas that crumble around them. You scramble for absurd weapons and perks ranging from bats, bazookas, flamethrowers, cannons and bombs, using these and setting off environmental hazards like speeding trains to take out your opponents. Between rounds, choose perks and power-ups to take into the next round, selecting from randomized upgrades in a manner similar to roguelites, allowing you to create a build, so to speak. Obviously, the juxtaposition of being a gentleman and having to eliminate your opponents with class is contrasted with the sheer absurdity of the situation, looking kind of like gang beasts but with more of a weapon focus instead of grappling, and looks like fun with friends. I just so happened to purchase a copy of the physical tabletop board game Beacon Patrol within the past couple of months, and we have the digital version of this cozy tile-laying exploration game this week. Take on the role of a Coast Guard captain tasked with charting and securing the North Sea coastline, placing tiles and moving your ship as you expand the map. Each turn, you draw from a supply of tiles depicting buoys, lighthouses, waterways and stretches of coast, then carefully position them so that they connect to existing features, ensuring that the seaways remain continuous and safe. The ship must be able to move to the newly placed tile and has other tokens for extra movement, being kind of like Carcassonne but with a different theme. It's cleverly made and quite strategic, with the goal of getting the high score, even in co-op, with the final map at the end of the game really looking quite pretty due to the art's style. One of the more interesting releases of the week is Brick Arts 3, a mech customizing, competitive sports action game where you build mechs from modular parts and send them into 3 main types of events: pure racing, open arena battling, and hybrid battle racing. Answering yes to the question, is this a racing game or a mech action title? Select chassis, weapons, thrusters, and cosmetic parts, tweaking the stats to suit different terrain, gravity settings, or climate hazards affecting speed, handling, damage, and durability of your mech. Pure race or pure battle would be self-explanatory, so let's talk about battle racing, where the goal is still to come in first place, but of course, where you can attack other opponents. Between races, use earned prize money to unlock new blueprints and modules, which widens your options for both strategic builds and flashy aesthetics in photo or diorama mode, with support for co-op and other modes like score attack as well. I love giant robots, so this is of interest, looking sleek and very good, so even if racing is not usually my thing, it's a fascinating enough entry to pique my interest. Bytebond is a cooperative puzzle platformer that has 2 players controlling adorable ball droids navigating an infected PC, working together to purge rogue virus bots and to reclaim control over the system. You'll traverse neon circuits, motherboard pathways, data biomes, and cooling systems, solving puzzles rooted in energy flow, time activation, and shared resource management, where both players must coordinate to open passageways and trigger mechanisms. Combat is minimal but present as you work together to use positioning, timing, and clever tactics to avoid or disable virus bots. It's a co-op puzzle title, so there will be new tools, biomes, and hazards introduced as the game progresses, while still remaining a co-op title, so communication and coordination will be key. Interestingly, it does state single player support as well on the Steam page, but does not elaborate whether it's a modified version of the game with just one bot, if you're controlling both bots, or if you're swapping between them, so the option is there, but of course will be best with a friend. Campus Life is a life sim title set in the final year of college, where you build your own path by balancing studies, social life, and personal growth. Begin by creating your avatar with traits like work ethic or extroversion, then attend lectures, study for exams, join clubs or fraternities, organize campus events, and make friends or rivalries, all while managing your time and energy. The day-to-day includes managing schedules, deciding whether or not to stay up late to celebrate with roommates, or to pull an all-nighter to prepare for a major test, all as you maintain relationships through conversations or campus activities with other characters, or make critical choices which further shapes your personality. There are stats and skills which can be upgraded, unlocking new opportunities like campus leadership roles, advanced coursework, more challenging social events, and even romance options, shaping the future trajectory of the character. It's an interesting setting for sure, and I don't believe I've come across a game like this, even if the character designs do kind of creep me out. A relaxing simulation title is CatCat, where you care for various breeds of felines, decorate the space, and enjoy calm moments with these adorable animals. It's not quite biologically correct since you're raising cats, beginning with hatching them from cat eggs, having to clean up their messes, feed them, pet them, and watch them grow, where you might occasionally receive a cute surprise or two as they mature. Decoration and customization plays a big part in this game as you change up the wall colors, furniture, flooring, and more, and can be quite aesthetically pleasing along with having in-game effects. It's quite casual in the sense that there are no formal goals, timers, scoring, or any competitive pressure, just the comfort of building out a space and chilling with your cats. This results in a gentle and creative gameplay loop, allowing you to unwind and to feel happiness in these small everyday activities, offering warmth, softness, and quiet joy. I'm not familiar with the original, but Class of Heroes 3 Remaster is, of course, an enhanced re-release of a school-themed first-person dungeon crawler where you form a party of students exploring sprawling dungeons full of monsters, loot, and gear while selecting from various classes and races to suit your preferred playstyle. Choose from one of 3 schools to enroll in, each changing the story, difficulty, and your uniform, then recruit your party of characters, using them in turn-based combat with their complementary abilities. This is old school in the sense that exploring the dungeons is done in first person, where you're moving, then rotating the camera and moving forward again if you want to make a turn, being similar to titles like Etrian Odyssey. On top of monsters, there are traps you need to avoid, as well as treasure and loot to find, with some pretty good looking art and designs for both the characters and enemies. It does seem like classic JRPG stuff of managing stats, elemental affinities, healing items, gold and more as you build up to defeating the dungeon boss and to complete the quest. So a fairly by the numbers one of these, but it does look good. You can change a character's class at school to experiment with different builds and party composition with a relationship system between the characters, adding bonus synergies, whether it be strong friendships or rivalries. According to Wikipedia, this is a game from 2010 which was released in Japan only on the PS3 and PSP, so for this to make it to Steam 15 years later is a miracle of modern game publishing. Concierge is a surreal point-and-click adventure game with horror overtones taking place in a snow-bound hotel where you awake with no memory of who you are, having to explore and discover more and the purpose of this place. The decrepit hotel consists of hand-painted rooms filled with secrets, where you're using a parasonic camcorder to uncover hidden truths, using it to scan the environment for supernatural anomalies if you dare to look. Solve puzzles in 6 abstract levels, each with its own aesthetics, rules, and distortions. There is minimal guidance and hand-holding, so you need to use your intuition, observation, and curiosity to explore, but does allow you to call for help if you get stuck, so there is some sort of in-game hint system. The puzzles and gameplay mixes in elements across all sorts of genres, which combined with non-linear progression means that any way forward is correct and you are free to explore. Critically, 2 lines in the description stand out, one being about some funny animals with funny animal problems, and there are no monsters, only people, definitely being on the creepy end of things if the art style is not obvious enough. And for good measure, it even has some FMV cutscenes and really is quite the curiosity. Cubic Cosmos is a roguelite collectible card game that sure does look like Hearthstone, mixing fast-paced card battles with tower defense elements in a deadly cyclical arena where every move counts. Choose from one of several classes, then advance through multiple chapters filled with waves of enemies, where each round demands careful deck management, positioning of units, and chaining of powerful combos to clear the battlefield. Random events will occur, offering new cards, relics, and choices that shift risk and reward, allowing you to change your strategy and your build. This does have meta progression elements in the form of unlocking up to 10 playable heroes with plenty of variety due to 200 plus cards, 60 plus relics, and scaling difficulty levels. There's also fixed and random boss fights, daily challenges, and mastery mode for additional gameplay variants, also having good art and will be for fans of the genre. Slight detour here, but we also have the release of CULTIC Chapter 2, a paid DLC for a fan-favorite boomer shooter which builds on the brutal, fast-paced combat of the core game. You blast through richly detailed environments ranging from ravaged urban districts to grim cult strongholds, armed with an expanded arsenal that includes temporary weapons like the mounted machine gun and bazooka alongside familiar weapons from Chapter 1. Combat improvements includes a revamped dodge system and tackle mechanic that lets you slam into enemies or to interrupt their attacks, while the tower shields have also been tweaked to become more flexible, such as making it easier to pick up or drop, and have a larger surface area so that you can more easily use it to smash into enemies. This exceeds the length of Chapter 1, including 12 new maps, also adding 3 survival maps, which are arena-based survival modes where you deal with waves of enemies, all while retaining their iconic art style and will be for fans of the genre. Speaking of action games, Deadwire looks like Hotline Miami but has a twist, being a top-down shooter with a little more of a tactical element set in a neon-soaked dystopian city where you take on the role of Wire, a hacker with the ability to rewire anything from enemies to environmental hazards. Use your hacking powers as you link enemies to nearby objects such as cars, barrels, and switches so that a single shot can trigger chain reactions that turn the battlefield into your weapon. Combat is fast and brutal, mixing in pistols, shotguns, smart rifles, grenades, and other explosive gear, all used in service of taking down the criminal gangs in your city. There will be side objectives and time trials which challenge you to clear missions in creative ways, being an interesting take on the top-down shooter and looks great. Don't Die, Collect Loot is an arcadey roguelite runner/shoot-em-up with RPG elements that throws you into relentless retro fantasy worlds where power is the goal and death is just part of the loop. Pick one of 5 heroes, then fight through procedurally generated levels, tearing through waves of enemies, dodging bullet hell style projectiles, and grabbing loot as you gain XP and level up, unlocking new skills as you attempt to take on more challenging monsters. When you die, you are sent back to the hub area and can unlock permanent upgrades, new loot options, as well as to customize your hero for the next attempt. Also, there is a story in this as you collect mysterious artifacts to uncover the secrets of the world, looking kind of like vertically scrolling Vampire Survivors and should be very compelling. Yet another roguelite collectible card game is Doomspire. One, like Cubic Cosmos mentioned earlier, does have a visual resemblance to Hearthstone in terms of UI, where you play as a dwarven hero descending into the Doomspire, an ancient crumbling spire filled with darkness, monsters, risk, and treasure. Every run begins at the top as you descend through procedurally generated floors that adds variety by changing layouts, traps, and enemy encounters. Combat is the classic turn-based card battles in which you are placing down units and hunting them and using their attacks to get through to the opponent's hero, with strategy in the form of building and refining your deck of attacks, defenses, relics, and utility cards. The key mechanic is sacrifice options, where you trade health, minions, or resources for greater power, weighing risk and reward, which will be critical if you want to defeat the bosses, which have unique attack patterns beyond the scope of regular encounters, with the appeal of descending into the unknown being one of the drivers of this game. A classic genre returns in Fata Deum, the God Sim, a divine strategy simulation title, or God Game for short, continuing the legacy of games like Populous or Black and White. You embody a god shaping a civilization, guiding or tormenting your followers as you compete with rival deities for dominance. Use miracles, blessings, or disasters to influence settlements, pushing them to build farms, lumber mills, temples, and fortifications as you attempt to gain as many followers as possible. There are 2 main paths to take, one of a caring and benevolent god which nurtures their people, or a cruel and callous one that rules through fear, which surprisingly is a viable option as well, with every decision altering the appearance of the settlements. Townsfolk react dynamically, either offering prayers of devotion or cowering under tyranny, with the end goal being to defeat rival deities and their followers. Structurally, it does seem to be scenario-based, where you are plopped into different situations and have to make the best of it, also being given challenges by the goddesses of fate, and looks like quite the throwback. A physics turn-based tactical roguelite is Flick Shot Rogues, where instead of commanding your characters to move, walk, or attack directly, you flick your hero across the board to collide with enemies, bounce off terrain, and trigger chain reactions, more resembling something like carom instead of chess. Each move feels tactile since lining up your shot against walls, angles, and hazards is just as important as which enemies you target, with the results of said flick then adding to the satisfaction when positioned just right. A misflick can send you into danger, leaving you vulnerable, made worse by curses or negative effects, but overall does look pretty good. You can unlock new, unique heroes with special abilities, choosing from any 2 and swapping between them on the fly during a run, with game-changing relics and synergies to discover as well. I do like the art style and does look polished, so for being something different, it was considered for Hidden Gem of the Week, but came in a close second place. What is old is new again with Goblin Cleanup, a cooperative first-person cleaning simulator where goblin maids are hired to scrub up the mess created by adventurers before the next batch shows up. You spend your time mopping up blood, restoring traps, refilling treasure chests, or even respawning creatures, all while dodging live traps and avoiding getting eaten by monsters which have not yet been killed by the heroes. This of course is similar to Viscera cleanup detail, but in a fantasy context, as you use your slime mop to clean ceilings and floors, along with other tools like a slime dispenser or mimic, so that the dungeon looks presentable again. They are both pre-designed levels with timed challenges and procedurally generated ones without strict time limits, offering both kinds of gameplay experiences, looking to be satisfying and meditative in the same way that Power Wash Simulator is and should be pretty chill. Godforsaken is a bullet heaven action roguelite with that classic gothic horror dark fantasy theme, looking similar to modern Diablo or Path of Exile, but is run-based. Choose from various heroes and use their unique skills and talents to battle your way through different maps teeming with monsters, elite foes, environmental hazards, and bosses. This is your screen-filling Vampire Survivors kind of game as you carve a path through hordes of enemies, with lighting and torch mechanics to keep your character sane amidst the creeping darkness. It's classic ARPG fare, so practice your circle strafing, dodges and dashes to get out of the way of enemy attacks, gradually becoming stronger and more overpowered to take on even more challenging enemies, looking like a Diablo 3 or 4 version of Halls of Torment, and has potential. The developer of Grey Heritage Noble Duty reached out, so I wanted to help, being part of the Grey Heritage series of games, which includes Faded Vision from 2022, with this game being a prequel and is a good introduction to the series. This is a Fire Emblem style tactical RPG set in a war-torn fantasy realm. So stop me if you've heard this before, where you play as Jaden, a lord of Estria, accused of betrayal, now having to travel the land, forge alliances, and reclaim what loyalty and honor mean in the face of corruption and conflict. I believe this is made using SRPG Studio, the RPG maker of tactical RPGs, but don't let the look fool you. This developer is committed to the genre, so there should be something here. You are controlling unique characters on the grid, moving, positioning, and attacking enemies while exploiting terrain advantages and also managing inventory so that your troops have what they need to be successful. It has up to 10 playable characters to recruit, a rewind feature for the last 10 turns to reverse any critical errors, no permadeath, as well as a 10 to 15 hour long story campaign, not boasting about infinite replayability or the like, and is a linear title that fans of the genre should enjoy. Hellbrella is a fast-paced aerial roguelite platformer where you play as a raincoat cat, fighting through hordes of demons armed with nothing but an umbrella, soaring between waves with insane combos and aerial movement. The moment-to-moment flow is pure action as you dodge, parry, attack, and combo in mid-air or even drop down on top of demonic enemies from above. There are 5 unique umbrellas to choose from, each with different combat styles, with dozens of upgrades to unlock, as well as permanent buffs. There are 2 currencies here in blood drops and pupils, which feed into the upgrade system, where the level design and platforms, or lack thereof, is the most interesting part about the design of this game, which has great pixel art as well. A whimsical sandbox puzzle adventure game is Henry Halfhead, where you play as Henry, a character who is literally half a head, but with the magical ability to become or transform into any object within reach, using the properties and physics of these objects to solve puzzles and explore the world. Examples include transforming into a watering can to water plants, becoming a paper plane to fly across gaps, or even to turn into dentures or a basketball to move around the world. The levels are designed around experimentation with over 250 different objects to become, combining and experimenting with them creatively to overcome obstacles, access new rooms, and unlock bits of the story and other bonuses. There's also local co-op, so a friend can join and assist in the puzzles, looking rather whimsical and I suppose meditative in some form, as you just exist in the world and do everyday things, so think Super Mario Odyssey but cozier and you get the idea. Heroes Against Time is a roguelite ally drafting RPG where you build a team to venture through an enchanted forest threatened by a creeping magical fog, making choices on a tile-based map, fighting enemies, digging through ruins, and managing resources before time runs out. Party composition is critical since you just hit a single button to attack as a party and does not split it up into individual character actions. The unique abilities and synergies between characters thus becomes the most important part, with random events and decisions to make, weighing risk and reward. It's supposed to be a quick pick up and play kind of experience, with runs lasting 10 minutes or so, but I do want to shout out the art style, which looks awesome and looks like a smaller title worth a play. A not-so-indie title is HYKE Northern Lights, coming to us from a primarily mobile game developer, but as a pixel art 2D action-adventure game that looks pretty alright. You play as HYKE, a young witch, exploring a world devastated by war between humans and witches, following in her missing mother's footsteps in search of her. This is your typical Zelda-inspired title, with exploration and combat being the focus as you venture into forbidden areas, dangerous zones guarded by mysterious witches known as the Meteors. In between the action, return to your camp to cook meals, rest and relax, being able to customize your campsite and bond with companions, also allowing you to play as 7 distinct characters, which is an interesting addition. Cooking is not just for fun, but does grant buffs to be used in combat, with a world and vibe that does remind me of the bullet hell Metroidvania Tevi. The pixel art is on point, so even while the elements of the UI does look very mobile game-like, as far as I know, this is a premium title with no microtransactions, so you don't need to worry about that. I want to believe it's a first-person action detective game all about aliens, where you arrive in a remote village plagued by extraterrestrials disguised as residents and must uncover the truth while balancing stealth, driving, and investigation. Roam a 2km by 2km open world in an old pickup truck that doubles as an investigative tool and mobile radio station, hauling cargo and exploring dirt roads to chase down leads. At every turn, you snap photos with your camera, gather clues, question locals, and piece together evidence on a crime board while trying to stay clean. No witnesses, no bodies, and no proof left behind. You have to balance earning money through your delivery jobs with spending said money on tools and equipment to suss out the aliens, with, of course, a deeper mystery to uncover, being a more objective-focused first-person simulation title with a cool theme, so I'm interested to check it out. A bigger title from a technically independent but larger studio is Jump Space, a co-op PvE space adventure game mixed with a first-person shooter, where up to 4 players crew a ship together and swap seamlessly between roles, steering the vessel, repairing it via spacewalk, and engaging in space combat, but also allows you to explore on foot and to go down onto planets to explore. The game switches between macro and micro, where you're piloting your ship, navigating through hazardous sectors of space while blasting away at enemies, but can also switch into first person to engage directly with boarding parties. Then, once the space threat is dealt with, go down to the planet to explore and collect resources, which are then used for ship or equipment upgrades. There are various mission types, including salvage, cargo defense, or hostile infiltration, with randomized elements ensuring no 2 missions are exactly the same. It looks very ambitious, having all sorts of random stuff like pizza slices and even the ability to play football, looking gorgeous as a modern game is expected to, and could be pretty huge. LAN Party Adventures is a nostalgic first-person adventure simulation game where you're setting up LAN parties at various spots while unraveling the mystery of a missing friend. You take on jobs in basements or living rooms, plugging in VGA cables, installing software, managing network speeds, and dodging viruses to set up said parties, all while listening in on phone calls, reading emails, secret documents, and surfing the web in search of your missing friend. This looks like some sort of spin-off of PC Building Simulator, but adds a narrative component, combining the tactile and perhaps nostalgic feel of setting these equipment up with a story and central mystery, and is intriguing. A cute adventure puzzle exploration game is Letters to Arralla, where you play as a turnip with a juicy bum, delivering letters to colourful residents across a sunny Australian island, using pictograms and doodles instead of addresses to figure out where each letter should go. You explore golden sand beaches, a shady forest, coastal paths, and quiet village streets, having to, perhaps illegally, open every letter you deliver, reading residents' mail to discover their hopes, problems, secrets, and errands, then attempt to help by solving their problems. The systems and progression is built around relaxed exploration, character interactions, and story, and is a whimsical, cozy game with side activities like taking photos, throwing stuff around, kicking over chess pieces, and uncovering secrets of the island, with a cast of weird and wonderful characters as well. It's kind of strange and out there, being the latest in a line of mail delivery games, the previous example being Kato's Post Office, and seems very pleasant. One of the contenders for Hidden Gem of the Week is My Child of Aegis, a 3D action-adventure platformer with Metroidvania-style progression and time manipulation, where you play as Mai on a journey through shattered worlds as she searches for her own identity and the origins of creatures threatening the world. The time travel aspect allows you to play as the character in different stages of her life, from child to adolescence and adulthood, travelling between ancient eras and dystopian futures, with enemies and challenges to match. Platforming, environmental puzzles, and hack-and-slash combat change depending on Mai's age, with each stage granting her different abilities to overcome physical obstacles and enemies. Time manipulation also extends to freezing time or even rewriting parts of history to unlock new paths forward, having quite the variety of different areas to explore, so while it might lack some visual flair or polish, might have something interesting here. We also have a Toho title this week in Marisa of Liartop Mountain, a self-described adventure RPG, which is an interesting phrase, being a narrative-driven dice title where you play as Reimu, entering the mysterious book world of Liartop Mountain in search of her missing friend Marisa. This seems to be heavily inspired by tabletop RPGs, with every encounter shaped by dice rolls, resulting in branching story paths due to your choices and the luck of the roll. As you explore the strange environments filled with eccentric characters, you'll collect unique dice that each carry different properties, some powerful and others risky, forcing you to weigh probability against strategy in every roll to get the desired outcome. Dialogue and story progression are influenced not only by outcomes of dice checks, but also by who you choose to listen to or ignore, bringing in other familiar Toho characters, each providing different perspectives. As such, while there are stats and combat, it is definitely more D&D rather than JRPG, with the overall presentation resembling a narrative title like Disco Elysium or something, with the text box constantly being on the right side of the screen, with the 3D assets being alright, but is not the main appeal. The world of indie games is pretty wild, since in 2025, we are somehow getting Mars Attracts, a theme park tycoon game spin-off of a Tim Burton sci-fi movie from 1996, featuring the same big-brain Martian designs, but in a completely new context. This is a satirical take on the tycoon genre, where you play as the Martians, abducting humans from across history, using them as attractions to build the ultimate amusement park on Mars. You are doing tycoon game stuff like placing rides, designing habitats, managing facilities, and creating spectacles that Martian visitors will enjoy, while balancing the well-being or misery of your human exhibits. Occasionally, you will need to send out expeditions to go abduct a couple of humans, venturing into different eras such as ancient Rome, feudal Japan, or the Wild West, then customizing their enclosures with items and conditions that match the preferences of the humans, or you can deliberately ignore them just to see what happens. You also need to manage Martian staff, park finances, and visitor satisfaction, making sure that the attractions are running smoothly while new amenities and advanced Martian technology unlocks as the park grows, being so out of left field as an idea, which I absolutely love and is the hidden gem of the week. Megabonk is a 3D roguelite bullet heaven title with platforming, where you fight through escalating waves of enemies across procedurally generated maps, scavenging loot, unlocking upgrades, and trying to survive for as long as possible. all fairly standard by now, but looks wacky and insane. It throws you straight into the action, beginning with a basic weapon and limited tools, gradually getting stronger to the extent where you destroy swarms of enemies. And trust me, there are a lot of enemies. Sure, Vampire Survivors style games have been done to death by now, but the 3D platforming aspect makes this different enough where the core gameplay loop looks to be as compelling as ever, so don't knock this until you try. An intense looking first person im-sim shooter is PIGFACE, where you play as Exit, a terrible person who has done terrible things, whose past has finally caught up with her. You awake in an abandoned warehouse with blood dripping down your skull, where your captors have drilled a bomb into your head and now have a job for you. Complete these missions or risk having your head blown up, giving you options in either going loud or stealthy. The choice is up to you. Gunfights can be raw and chaotic, since you have access to an arsenal of firearms and improvised weapons that includes shotguns, rifles, pistols, grenades, landmines, and even blunt weapons like hammers, all meant to be used in violent encounters. You can sneak around and set traps before triggering enemies, allowing you to creatively explore in that immersive sim sandbox kind of manner, with Hotline Miami style masks which grant special abilities, looking impressive, but do note that this will be an early access release. Piñata Go Boom is an adorable looking incremental game where you take on the role of a rookie piñata popper, swinging a bat to smash candy-filled targets, gather toys and trade them in for ever stronger upgrades, or as you attempt to climb the corporate ladder. The core action is simple but satisfying. Break open piñatas as fast as you can, collect the loot that bursts out, and funnel your earnings into boosting damage, swing speed, or automation that let piñatas explode with minimal effort. As you climb the ranks of the Piñata Poppers company, you'll unlock new rooms to clear, tougher piñatas to shatter, and advance up the upgrade tree with a prestige system that lets you reset progress with permanent carryover as expected of incremental titles. I love the look of the pixel art in this game, which along with the gigantic numbers on screen sure seems like a very satisfying experience. One of the earliest games I got on Steam was the original Platypus, added to my Steam account in 2015, probably as part of some humble bundle or something, with the original game being from 2004, which is kind of insane to think about, and we are getting Platypus Reclayed this week, a remastered version of this claymation shoot 'em up rebuilt from the ground up. This puts you back in the cockpit of a platypus fighter as you defend the peaceful land of Mongola against an invading empire. The moment-to-moment gameplay is classic side-scroller shooter action set across various colourful handcrafted backdrops while you blast away at endless streams of enemy fighters, gunships and bosses. Shooting down foes releases power-up pods which cycle through weapon upgrades like spread shots, rapid fire or rockets, requiring quick reflexes to grab the upgrade you want while weaving through enemy fire. There's definitely an appeal due to the art style alone, which does help in getting attention, also having co-op support like the arcade shooters of old, and is a classic genre worth a play. Similarly, we also have the release of Puzzle Quest Immortal Edition, a remastered and repackaged version of the original Puzzle Quest Challenge of the Warlords from 2007. This is a match 3 RPG where you defend the kingdom of Etheria by battling monsters, completing quests, and growing your hero through gem-based combat, and is one of the reasons why I personally love match 3 games so much. Instead of Bejeweled, where the goal is the high score, you are matching gems to get mana to use your attacks, having to be mindful of the enemy and their special abilities when choosing what to use. Outside of combat, there's a world map to explore, with main and side missions to go on, NPCs, equipment, a home citadel to build and upgrade, the ability to capture creatures, and a lot more. This Immortal Edition bundles together all prior expansions with new additions like a fresh character class, new items, new quests, quality of life improvements, and 4K artwork, being the definitive version of this game and should be awesome. We also have the 1.0 release of ShapeHero Factory, a hybrid factory building defense roguelite where you construct assembly lines that churn out warriors made from basic shapes, sending them into battle against endless waves of enemies as you refine your production system. Each run begins with simple conveyors that combines circles, squares, or triangles into crude units, which then march automatically into battle while you focus on improving output, balancing resources, and choosing upgrades. Experiment and optimize your factory layout to most efficiently produce units, routing shapes through forges, paint shops, or enhancement modules to produce stronger units. Then watch how these choices hold up against increasingly dangerous enemies. There are roguelite style progression systems such as unlocking relics, advancing up a research tree, as well as different playable characters or masters to unlock, each with different specialties and playstyles. You can unlock arcane knowledge or permanent upgrades from each character, which carries over, giving you a reason to try out all of them, where critically you will not be able to directly control your troops and must only focus on creating more and more powerful versions, retaining what makes factory builders great and has an awesome art style. So if you have been waiting, now is a great time to jump in. Superhero Simulator is an open-world action simulation game where you play as said hero, having to fight crime and keep the city safe while also handling your everyday life, where you're not billionaire Bruce Wayne here, but rather more along the lines of struggling photographer Peter Parker. You fly, run, and leap across a stylized 3D city, fighting villains in third-person action, rescuing civilians, and stopping crimes using powers like flight, super strength, or super speed in order to do so. Between the action segments, earn money, pay rent, and maintain your personal hygiene, flipping burgers or driving a taxi to make ends meet. There are RPG-like progression systems such as skill and equipment upgrades, all while your reputation grows due to your heroic deeds. So while superheroes as a trend is on the downswing, an alternative to the Arkham games or Insomniac Spider-Man games is a curiosity and has potential. A title that has gone viral on social media a number of times is Sushi Ben, an interactive anime narrative adventure game where you have to help save a seaside sushi bar struggling against the encroachment of big city land sharks while forging relationships with the quirky townsfolk through charming minigames and slice-of-life moments. You wander through a vivid coastal town, interacting with characters in manga-style 3D pop-up panels, completing tasks like fishing, archery, ghost hunting, dog walking, and helping the locals with problems just so they might dine at your sushi shop. Build trust with the community by doing them favors that unlock new story threads where deepening connections affects how the narrative plays out. It does look and feel like a slice-of-life anime, which is impressive, where the main antagonist seems to be the hard carry of this game, having full voice acting as well as the entire thing being written by the creator of the pigeon dating sim Hatoful Boyfriend, feeling like you're living in a cozy anime romance/adventure, having both regular and VR support, and will be one to watch. One more not-so-indie title is Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree, coming to us from Japanese developer Brownies Inc., and is a roguelite action RPG where you journey through a mystic realm. Play as Towa and her companions, striving to protect their village from a corrupting force. Combat is interesting since there is a dual character setup where you choose 2 characters per run, mixing melee sword attacks as well as magical abilities through a staff, requiring you to juggle offense and support to effectively take out your enemies. You explore varied biomes with a variety of enemies, with the action looking rather impressive. In terms of progression, you will be able to unlock new playable heroes or guardians, and can also customize and upgrade your weapons through a timing-based mini-game at the Forge, which is part of a larger village where forging bonds with the residents and learning more about the history of the town between runs is part of the story as well. There have been a couple of attempts at a Japanese-themed anime-looking action roguelite, with this being the next title to try, so let's see where this lands, since there certainly is potential. I think this game is pronounced TROLEU, being a very strange, weird, surreal first-person title where you're a trolley bus conductor dealing with the absurdities of public transport. You cruise through busy routes, checking tickets, issuing travel passes, collecting fares, and confronting fare dodgers, all while trying to maintain order when passengers misbehave, throw temper tantrums, or hover too close to danger, being able to throw a punch or two and looks absolutely crazy, where you need to do your job right when the ticket inspector comes on board, since any non-compliance will then fall on you and is too unique not to share. We also have the follow-up and direct sequel to Troublemaker this week, a Yakuza-style open-world brawler made by an Indonesian developer and is set in a fictional Indonesian city which shows off their culture, where Troublemaker 2 Beyond Dream is a self-styled action comedy title that might have some emotional notes as well. It follows two groups of friends, led by Jordan and Budi respectively, of an aspiring band aiming to go big, as well as an MMA fighter as these youths pursue their dreams. You can explore the open world of the city, which is impressive for a game from a smaller team, being able to take part in various mini-games and activities while advancing the main story. There are, of course, brawls and fights to get into, along with side stories and characters to get to know, telling a tale of friendship, drama, love, rivalry, and adventure, with these young characters that have their whole lives in front of them being an exciting and hopeful look at the future. A very different kind of game starring teenagers is Type Noise Shonen Shoujo, a mystery adventure visual novel in which 6 teens awaken without memories and find themselves trapped in a distorted Tokyo full of surreal labyrinths, having to find out what is going on in order to escape. You explore eerie, dreamlike environments using a point-and-click interface, interact with strange characters, and solve over 40 puzzles that range from logic puzzles to courtroom-style arguments to mathematical deductions and more, navigating branching paths as the characters deal with their latent trauma. There are 6 characters and 6 intertwining stories, having some impressive looking anime-style art as well, so while not quite a detective mystery murder game, it is somewhere in that ballpark, perhaps more on the thriller end of things, so if you love puzzle games with a narrative, then this will be of interest. ZOE Begone is a bullet hell arcade shooter with a cool look, mixing almost run-and-gun style action with classic shoot-'em-up intensity, set in looping, hand-drawn levels as you dodge enemies and projectiles. Your opponents are created by the Twisted Animator, the main antagonist of the game, with a look inspired by 1930s drawn-on-film animation, which makes it stand out. You have to shoot at enemies while avoiding getting hit, collecting apples to spend on power-ups while increasing your multiplier and your high score. There's classic arcade mode, time attack, and a boss rush mode included, but it's certainly on the arcadey, die and retry end of things, looking like a neat action game. This one's for indie game developers. The free indie game marketing resources are ready, so sign up via the link in the description below to get it in your mailbox. Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is a single-player bullet heaven roguelite with a DRG twist, doing extremely well in early access so far and will be launching in 1.0 this week. This drops you into the depths of an alien planet where you must mine, fight and survive against waves of alien creatures, surviving collapsing caverns as one dwarf against the dark. You blast through procedurally generated caves, collecting ore and artifacts, automatically firing as enemies swarm you on all sides while periodically digging into the walls to mine materials or to carve tunnels that reshape the battlefield. The systems and progression revolves around collecting upgrades between runs, such as enhanced weapons, damage boosting gear, and overclocks that alter your build, and permanent upgrades that carry forward, which makes you stronger in future missions. There is an extraction element where you need to get back to your pod safely in order to retain earned resources similar to the base game, with the 1.0 release adding a bunch of new stuff including new mission types, a new gear system, and much more. We are also getting the follow-up to Strange Horticulture this week in Strange Antiquities, a dark and cozy job simulation title where you become the keeper of a shop dealing in occult relics in the gloomy town of Undermere, which is the same setting as the first game. You have to help the townsfolk with their strange requests while uncovering mysteries of the town, studying and identifying arcane antiques, using a detailed inspection system in order to determine what they are. Pick up objects to observe their texture, scent, sound, and subtle inner aura, and then compare these against a tomb of knowledge, sort and label them, and then decide on which objects to sell, lend, or use to the townsfolk, which in turn affects their fate. Other than the shop, You're able to go out and explore the streets of Undermere, following clues that might lead you to new discoveries as you comb through candle-lit libraries and track down strange symbols. The original is a massive hit, and I don't see any reason why the sequel won't be as well, having a virtually identical art style to the first game, which is not the most impressive, but works well for the game. Something a lot more flashy visually is Moral's Protocol, a roguelite first-person shooter set on a derelict warship crawling with twisted horrors. You awaken alone, guided by a distant, mysterious voice, exploring shifting corridors filled with grotesque monsters and malfunctioning machines. Combat is intense and varied, with pistols, rifles, flamethrowers, and even katanas thrown into the mix, letting you carve through enemies in bloody encounters. Levels combine procedural generation with handcrafted sections, ensuring that each run feels unique while keeping tension high throughout exploration. As you fight, you collect augments and resources, shaping builds for different playstyles, with the boss encounters drawing from Souls-like titles demanding precise timing, recognition of patterns, and calculated aggression to succeed. Between runs, spend materials on bio boost upgrades, permanently enhancing survivability and unlocking new abilities, looking like boomer shooter fun in a replayable package, and looks absolutely gorgeous as well. Speaking of gorgeous games, we also have the 1.0 release of Little Witch in the Woods, a cozy pixel art life sim adventure where you play as Ellie, an apprentice witch sent to train in a small forest village, gradually learning spells, brewing potions, and helping townsfolk with everyday troubles. Exploration is central as you roam the surrounding woods, collecting herbs, mushrooms, and magical plants, fishing in rivers, and uncovering hidden glades that provides ingredients for your brewing experiments. Potion crafting forms the backbone of progression, with recipes expanding as you discover rarer components and refine your brewing techniques, allowing you to solve more complex requests from the villagers. Each successful delivery strengthens your relationships, unlocking side quests, character stories, and new dialogue, which deepens the sense of community while slowly upgrading your witch's house with better tools, gardens, and cozy furnishings. The pace is gentle but purposeful, letting you decide whether to focus on resource gathering, exploration, or bonding with the locals, with rewards that fold back into Ellie's development as a full-fledged witch, playing like a relaxing blend of Stardew Valley and fairy tale storytelling, offering comfort and charm in equal measure. Easy Delivery Co. is a laid-back driving and delivery sim where you operate a small K truck across snowy mountain roads, making sure that parcels reach homes scattered throughout the region. Each drive demands attention to the icy turns, limited fuel, and shifting weather, with snow drifts and slippery inclines, where mastering the physics and handling of the vehicle is key. You have to stop to refuel, ensuring that you have enough money in the first place to do so, with the meager earnings from completing deliveries barely keeping you afloat. You will be able to upgrade your vehicle with better tires, lights, or engines while you learn the map and optimal routes that save both time and fuel. It is creepy cute, giving off Animal Crossing vibes in some places, where the developer states that there are definitely no secrets in this game, which means that there are, so whether it's a horror game or not remains to be seen, but what an awesome looking title which is so indie games. Watch this video for more of the best indie games.